All right, so you're driving around town and you see those lights in the rearview mirror. It depends which town you're going through and you might not even know it. From 9 News, Jeremy Jojola, thank you for being here. You did these great stories on these cities that live, off of these speed traps. It was amazing. I want to dive into that. What brought you to the story?
Well, we've always heard complaints from our viewers about speed traps all across Colorado. That infamous one out there in Morrison. You always hear these complaints of, from our viewers coming in saying, you really got to look into the money. You really got to look in the budgets of what these towns are making.
But don't you usually think those are just guys who are driving? You can't get a ticket, and you're pissed when you get a ticket.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah, and we looked at those complaints, and it's like, those complaints are a dime a dozen. Yeah. But we really decided to take a look at the actual budgets and actually take a comprehensive look at what all towns in Colorado are making. And we were able to take that data out of 270 towns and come up with an average.
One thing that people don't really get, you understand your town, but the Denver metro area is spotted with different municipalities that you're driving through, and you don't even know you're driving through a municipality. It could be landlocked, like Glendale is surrounded all by Denver, and it's this tiny little few block radius.
You don't know.
You have no idea.
You don't know if you're going to get pulled. I mean, you don't know if you're going through the town until you get pulled over by the police department.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
There's a town here? No, because it's just one big thing. All right. So what did you find when you looked at these 200 towns?
We found that on average, the average town in Colorado brings in about 4% of their revenue through traffic tickets and court fees. But
this is like general funds.
This is general funds. But there are some small towns that are making big time numbers here. The 4 or 5 towns that we profiled were bringing in 90%. Campo, Colorado, 93%. Morrison was bringing in 92 or 52%. Mountain View brought in 52% or 53%. Lakeside at one point was bringing in 60%. They went down to 17%. So these small towns.
This is amazing, because when you think about it, what a brilliant way to fund your local government by having people outside your government put in all the money. That is, you're driving through, we catch you, and you'll pay for all the governmental services we do in this town. I want to zoom in first on Lakeside.
Yes.
Lakeside.
It's a fascinating government.
No, it is disgusting. it is absolutely unethical what goes on in Lakeside. Yeah. Now, Lakeside is right there off of 6th Avenue. You see the roller coaster from the old Lakeside. If I get this right, the whole city is basically owned by one family. How many people live in Lakeside?
Technically, as of the latest U.S. Census numbers, 8 people.
8 people live in Lakeside.
8 people live in Lakeside, and they have about 12 to 15 officers on staff.
All right, now,
working traffic.
Now, my math is a little rusty here, but basically, you live in Lakeside. This has got to be the safest place in the world, because there are 2 cops for every resident in Lakeside. Yeah. This is not bad.
Yeah.
Now, talk about their speed trap that used to be, and it's not as bad anymore for an interesting reason.
What happened in 2011, Lakeside was bringing in about 60% of their revenue through traffic ticketing and court fees. What happened was Walmart came in 2013, opened up shop, but with Walmart, they brought in these big box problems. The police department has had to focus its efforts on shoplifters. When you have thousands of people going to Walmart,
so they're no longer shaking down drivers.
No, they don't have time.
Right.
They're going to that Walmart 3 to 4 times a day to deal with shoplifters.
But now Walmart is becoming the revenue stream for that 8-person city. Could you imagine having a Walmart as a cash cow for taxes coming for your 8 residents of Lakewood? This just smells so bad.
Yeah, when you really look at the dynamics of the government there and how it works, there's 8 people that live there, and the majority of them sit on the board. The majority of them sit on the board, and so they have elections every 2 years, but who's going to vote them off the board if somebody doesn't like what's going on in Lakeside?
You got 8 people voting for 5 board members.
Exactly.
You got 3 staff and 4, the rest are there. All right, but the shakedown, and I'm using this term very deliberately, the shakedown of those traps, because you're driving down Sheridan, and you don't know that for that 1 or 2 blocks you're going through Lakewood, and they get you. Yeah. I mean, they just get you. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about Morrison and Mountain View. Let's go with Mountain View. What is Mountain View? I've lived here nearly all my life.
A lot of people don't know Mountain View exists. It's right there in the corner of 44th and Sheridan, just south of Lakeside. It's a town that's 12 blocks small. The official population is 507 people.
That's a metropolis next to Lakeside.
Yes, and they bring in the majority of their revenue comes from traffic tickets, and they cite for seatbelt violations, which is a primary violation in Mountain View. They like to see
in Mountain View. Is it in the state? Is it, or is it just in Mountain View?
Just in Mountain View.
Well, hang on. This is good.
They cite on a their primary. They've decided on their own to cite people for seatbelt violations as a primary violation. That's a moneymaker for them. Yeah.
I got here when I was 6 years old. I mean, Colorado is home. I didn't hear the term Mountain View until I think your story. I mean, I thought it was a housing development. I thought it was like a neighborhood, not a municipality.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a municipality.
So you're telling me that this municipality votes in a law that says, let's make seatbelt violations a primary thing, and then we'll pull over everyone who does it. How much money do they make off of this scam?
They made 53% of their revenue off of traffic tickets in 2013. 53% of their budget came from traffic tickets. That beats out taxes, like their gross receipts tax and their property taxes. So this is their big money maker for them. Another thing that they like to cite for is obstructed view. They target people
Obstructive view of what?
That's if you have a cracked windshield, or if you have a rosary or a graduation tassel hanging off your rear view mirror.
You mean the fuzzy dice?
Yeah, the fuzzy dice. They will cite you for that. That is considered an obstructed view in Mountain View, and you will get ticketed for that in Mountain View.
Is there any hypocrisy, he asked, knowing the answer? Is there any hypocrisy with the law enforcement in Mountain View when it comes to those two issues of seatbelts and obstructed view?
When we did our first investigation into Mountain View, we found one of the police officers with fuzzy dice on his rear view mirror. And it was funny because I didn't know it was a police officer's vehicle. I went there to court to observe municipal court, and a lot of people were telling me, hey, go check out this SUV over here. That belongs to a Mountain View police officer, and on his rear view mirror was fuzzy dice. And so we waited there all day to see if this guy would come out, and sure enough, he was a Mountain View police officer.
It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, there's no better hypocrisy than and Morrison. Tell me about Morrison.
Morrison is really interesting. So you have the main part of Morrison up there.
And by the way, this is close to Red Rocks.
This is like
the
little
town.
This is a small town, the home of Red Rocks, population around 500 people. They have about 20 officers on staff. And where they primarily issue their tickets is not in the main part of Morrison, but on Highway 285, about 4 miles south of the main part of town, where there's no buildings, there's really no populated area. It's Highway 285, and people zip through there and they break the 45-mile-per-hour speed limit. And so Morrison they made 52% of their revenue from traffic tickets in Morrison, and the bulk of those traffic tickets were there.
That one stretch.
On that one stretch. It's a notorious speed trap.
So you're not being a law enforcement official, you're being a tax collector. I mean, if your service represents over half the budget of the entire municipality, you're a tax collector. And I feel sorry for these cops whose job it is to feed the machine back home. Campo, I didn't even know what a Campo was. Now, I'm not going to drive through Campo because it's not part of the metro area. Where's Campo?
Campo is way on the southeast corner of Colorado. It's a very small town that has a population of 107 people, and they had at one time 3 officers writing tickets, but now they have 1. And 93% of Campo's revenue comes from traffic tickets. 93%. So that officer, when we interviewed him, he said he was pressured by the mayor of Campo. Hey, if you don't write tickets, you're going to be out of a job. So what does that do to your mentality as a police officer?
And your job is law enforcement, but your job depends on bringing home the cash. Why can't we just be more honest and have a toll booth going through these cities and just say, listen, instead of a $100 ticket, everybody pays $1 to go through Lakewood, $1 to go through Mountain View, which we didn't even know existed, and at least it's transparent that drivers are the ones paying the cost.
Yeah. When I did talk to these officers, they did say, according to the officers, I'm just attributing.
Let me guess. Let me guess. Here it is. Listen, reporter, yeah, we might have a lot of tickets, but these people are breaking the law. And here it comes. and for public safety.
Yes.
We need to do that.
Yeah.
We need to do that, more public safety of those fuzzy dice in Mountain View than any other place. So every other police department in every other city in Colorado does not care as much about public safety as these guys do.
Yeah,
that says a lot.
Those fuzzy dice are dangerous in Mountain View.
I know people have been strangled by those fuzzy dice. Is there any remedy for this? I know your job is to report on it, but I'm thinking about. What do you do other than try to get the word out? And after the buzz goes down, the problem's still there.
There's proposed federal legislation coming down this summer by a congressman out of Missouri that wants to put a 30% cap on this type of revenue for all towns across the country. In some states, like Missouri, they put a cap on that, and then if a municipality goes over a threshold, that money will go into a different type of fund towards the state.
It seems like we shouldn't be looking to D.C. for the answer. We've got 100 state legislators that should look at this and go, that's dirty, or at least there should be some type of transparency when you drive through a town. There should be a billboard that says, "Welcome to Mountain View. We get over half of our money from speeders." Or if you have a cracked windshield, we do that for DUI stops. You can miss it if you want to go over here.
Checkpoint
exactly. This was a great story. People want to see it. Is it still on the 9 News?
If people go on Google, just Google 9 News, a Citation Nation, our story will come up, and it's all in one spot.
Jeremy, great stuff.
Thank you, John.
For giving us the bad news. Listen to me on KHAL Radio. Tell a friend about the Independence Institute. That's independenceinstitute.org, and we'll see you next week.